The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Welcome to the Influencer's Edge. This is the place where you come to get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques to leapfrog over the pack in sales, persuasion, and influence. Be sure you visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, tune in, and enjoy today's episode. Hey, welcome back to the Influencer's Edge. I don't know when you're going to be watching this. As you see, I'm regrowing my goatee because too many people told me it makes me look distinguished and more attractive to the ladies. And who am I to argue with these these observations, which are obviously true? So, and also, again, I extend a heartfelt thanks to you, the audience, for making us ranked in the top 10% of podcasts globally. How we did that, I don't know. But I'm continually grateful for you. That's an amazing thing, and thank you. Today, I have on my show Jamie Honey, whose wife is Amy Honey, Jamie and Amy Honey, which I think is pretty remarkable. Now, every once in a while, we bring on people who influence. The name of the Influencer's Edge encompasses a lot. And my guest is someone who influences through healing. He is a profound healer. What fascinates me is someone who participates in the healing arts myself, although you wouldn't know it from my vulgar language, how there's so many different roads to lead to the same path. So, Jamie, welcome to the show.
Welcome, thank you, and awesome. It's great to be here. It's great to see you, Paul.
Thank you. We'll try to make sense of your funny, indecipherable accent.
Yes.
I had my own session with you, healing session with you. We'll dive into what, but just to mess with you, I said, "Are you English or Australian?"
I remember. That was fun. It's always good to have a bit of a laugh, regardless.
All right, let's dance around with and take a dive into your bio. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I always have a pre-flight talk with my astronauts into the realm of whatever it is they do. And I let Jamie know that I will pause him in places and push back and ask for clarification. So let's go with your bio. Jamie Honey is an emotional energy specialist. Does it say died 18 years of age and returned with, so pause right there.
We didn't get far, did we?
No, I told you, fuck the bio, the strict reading of the bio. I never do that. Yeah. So you died. What was that experience? What brought about that death?
It's interesting, and it was a fabulous opportunity and experience without out of a tragic circumstance. So the fact that I'm still here now means that it didn't take. I mean, so at first you don't succeed, try again. Not that I'm encouraging that with the death part. Yet I was 18. It was a freak accident at a party, tackled by a friend, went down a bit of a bank. And it was just a small impact, but it created a small kind of internal bleeding situation. And then that internal bleeding over a period of time got worse and worse and worse. And so over a few hours, I had pain. And then that led to a number of experiences. Even my parents not believing I was in pain because I was an 18-year-old. They're like, you've been out partying, you're drunk, forget it.
Yes.
Yet within 12 hours, I was in a hospital bed on an operating table, them saying, well, he lost all his blood, his heart stopped, he's dead. Let's see if we can find where the leak's happening and start him back up again.
Do you know how long you were dead for?
About 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And the interesting, an amazing issue, it led me into an understanding that we are not the body. There is so much more, yet we also need a body. It's like if you go to pick up your groceries, it's good to get in the car, drive over there and give them some physical cash rather than just think about it, you know?
Well, let's unpack for a minute. Let me put you on pause. So when you died, did you have a NDE? Did you leave your body? Did you see
Yep.
the light?
Yep.
I can't let you skip over that, as I told you. So let's hear your experience because this
Okay.
fascinates me.
Okay. It really is. And that led me at the age of 18 to go, like I'm 55 now, led me into in the realm of what else is there in life? Because as an 18-year-old going, there's so much more to reality than what they're telling me in my biology and science books. So,
Mhm.
quick snapshot of the story. Okay, so what I remember, and this is where I get like some people go, "Oh my God, I had a near-death experience too." I'm like, "Really? Let's compare." And they're like, "Yeah, I was walking across the boardwalk, and this car out of nowhere, it nearly hit me. Oh my God, I nearly died." I'm like, "Okay, you nearly had an accident. You didn't have a near-death experience." Let's reframe. Mine was my physical body stopped. The doctors said, "You're dead. Now let's see if we can bring you back." They did. Thank goodness, here I am. So my experience, found myself moving through a corridor of light. So it was like a corridor, more so than a tunnel. I felt like there was walls, top, bottom, sides, and the corridor was lit by the door open at the far end of the corridor. So it was like a tunnel of light, but in my framework, it was like a corridor. The door at the end was open and there was brilliant, bright white light shining through that lit the whole hallway. And I wasn't walking, I wasn't being wheeled, I was just moving, like as if I was floating through this
What was
process.
your feeling on the inside? Were you fearful, curious? What was
Just
the
observing, just
observing?
oh,
Great.
this is curiosity, I guess. Not
Curiosity.
even curiosity. It was just, oh, this is it. You know, just acceptance. Just, oh well. A little bit of curiosity as I was intrigued as what's on the other side of that
Right.
doorway. So when I reached the doorway, the door frame, and I moved through it, it disappeared from my peripheral. I never turned back around to see if the door was still there, but I went into a realm that was made of light. Now, water in physical construct is an ice cube. You know, it can be ice, it can be flowing, it can be vapor gas. The best way to describe it is like everything was like light in a physical construct. The land was light, the hills, the trees, everything was made of light. And know how watercolor is semi-transparent. You
Yes.
could you can see it, but you can also see through it a little. Everything was made like that. And I felt completely safe. And there's this feeling of love and appreciation and connectiveness to everything that took place. And the best way I can describe that, mind you, I was an 18-year-old. So at that point in time, when you totally are enamored with somebody and you're about to have your first kiss, there's this sense of sweetness, there's this sense of excitement, anticipation.
Sounds like one of my seduction language patterns. Are you trying to get me in bed? You're married, and I don't swing that way. Not that there's anything wrong with it,
I'll get you to clean the garage for me. How's that?
cleanliness is a virtue I'm working on, my friend.
Ditto. So yeah, this sweetness was a feeling that you felt, and almost like that moment just before you had your first kiss of a truly loved one, that everything was just sweet and nothing else mattered. And there was like music playing, but it wasn't music I so much heard, yet it was more a vibrational sensation that I felt, as if every cell in my body was humming together.
Mm.
Just sweet. It was so sweet. And I love sunrises and sunsets. Like when you go somewhere nice, sweet, and you're away from all the stress of life, and you just observe that sun rising or that sun setting, and there's that peacefulness, harmony, and connection with everything. It was that feeling. And I there was 3 people there, and they were fairly tall, about 7, 8 feet tall. And the first one walked forward, kind of in robes, and he put his hand on my shoulder. And I knew whatever this guy says, I'm going to do. It's like if he said, "Go be a basketball," boom, I would have been a basketball. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, oh, he said a few things, but the main thing was, "You have to go back. There's more for you to do." I'm like, okay. So then the next thing I do is I come into consciousness in my hospital bed, and I could still feel his hand on. Oh, he also said, "Never, I'll always be with you. We'll always be there." So he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, "You got to go back. There's nothing to worry about. We'll be there to help." And as I came to in the hospital bed, I'm like trying to get the gas mask off my mouth, and people are like, "Hey,
Yeah, they fight. They often fight.
yeah." They're like, "No, keep it on. It's good for you." I'm like, his hand's on my shoulder, his hand, and they're like, "No one's touched you. No one's done. You've been out for a considerable amount of time, and no one's touched you. We're waiting to see if you're even brain dead or not now." And I'm like, "No, his hand's on my shoulder." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And so I described the experience, and they're like, "Uh-huh." And his hand, I could, for about half an hour, his hand was, I was conscious of it, and it got less and less and less and less until it faded away.
Have you ever felt it since?
I have had some experiences since that have been like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm glad. Yes, I guess the short answer is yes. So then they started asking me all these questions like, who's the Premier of Australia, or do you know what day it is? Just to see if I had cognitive
Your
function.
orientation.
Yeah. And I failed all those questions, namely because I was never interested in them in the first place. But when they asked me what cartoons are on next on a Saturday morning, I'm like, okay, so you start with, you got to be up at 6 o'clock because that's one of the best. So then they're like, that's really who he is. So, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Other than that, nothing interesting to say about it. Okay. All right.
Well, there's
So
more stuff if people have questions, yet it's kind of like, it's very real to me. Like, I still remember it today. If I sit down and actually think about it, I actually feel feelings and everything of it. Yeah, it's no different to like this morning I made a cup of coffee. Can I remember that? Yeah, I can describe every
here's the
detail.
question that is obviously not your biography. Most 18-year-olds think they're immortal anyway. So they do. They just do. It's just part of being young and having. I always tell people I'm the same age as you are. I'm a heartbeat away from eternity, and that seems to end the discussion right there. Or I'll say, well, you're the older one because you were on the last years of your previous life before I was conceived. Just don't
That's
even
okay.
bother figuring it out. It's designed to confuse. It's an NLP pattern interrupt, and me being
Yeah.
did it take away your, it's a stupid question because I know the answer, but did it take away your fear of death?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, people say the 2 biggest fears are like public speaking and death. And I'm like, well, I've done them. My biggest fear is disappointing people because they believe my press or something. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Fear of dying is like, it's a beautiful experience, and it's the last thing you should want to do in this life.
What an interesting contrast, contradiction. It's a beautiful experience and the last thing you should want to do. I love that. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, okay.
Emotional energy specialist. All
Mhm.
right. Being someone who is both open-minded and rigorous in my thinking, I like to have clearly defined terms. What do you mean by, and we're going to get a little controversial here. I'm going to push back just for the
Okay.
sake of my own clarity and that of my audience, who can be pretty hard-boiled when it comes to these things. Hear my question. Let me complete it. What do you specifically mean by energy? Do you mean something that can be measured in watts, joules, Tesla? Well, Teslas are magnetic fields, watts, joules, volts, amperage. What do you mean by energy is the first part of the question. And the second part, which is even more challenging, is how do you know that what you perceive as energy, since it can't be objectively measured, is not just the imagination and fantasy? These are difficult questions, but this is my job.
Okay. Well, I love the question. That's good. I love clarity because miscommunication drives most of our chaos in our life and in our surroundings. So clarity is a good thing. And to be honest, there was a marketing specialist that was working with my wife and I many years ago. And he goes, well, tell me what you do. And I'm like, I do more. And after about an hour, and he goes, you're an energy creationist. I'm like, well, I love the words, yet I don't really feel it. And then it transformed down to emotional energy. He had professional or something, but specialist was where we ended up. So energy. Energy is a construct that that can be measured and can also just be felt or feelings, the emotional energy along with the physical energy, more so than the physicality of the body, more so the energy we put towards thoughts. The thoughts we have are a construct of energy, and going down from basically Newtonian physics, where we're like, or Newtonian laws of reality, where cause and effect and weight and mass and all these are in place, down to a particle point of the atomic level in quantum physics, where everything is a potential, and where we place our attention and our energy creates a different construct. So of outcome, I guess. And so the thoughts we have, the thoughts are constructive energy. The feeling or the amount of intention and attention we place
That's perfect.
on a thought. So yeah, energy itself kind of encompasses so many different things, yet it's more the spiritual awareness of who we are and what we
Oh, now
do
you
with
just
that.
introduced another term that I'm challenging you here. I'm taking your deposition because for some people, spiritual means they're in church every day and they're
Yeah.
confessing their sins to a deity who's going to judge them. Other
Yeah.
people, spirituals, they burn incense and they chant whatever they
Yeah.
chant. Well, again, I'm going to keep pushing back. What specifically? Because I like clarity. I'm
Okay.
open to anything as long as I can get wrap my heart and my head around it just a little bit. So, what do you mean by spiritual?
Okay. Well, when I died, they explained it. Nah, just kidding.
It's all right. I'll buy it.
Okay. No, let's see. Spiritual encompasses all the different things from my perspective, encompasses all the different things that you just mentioned. If we have a glass of water and you say, hey, have you ever drank water before? And I'm like, oh, have you done aqua? And they're like, oh, I don't touch that. I'm like, it's water. It's just water in Japanese, as opposed to water in, or agua as in Spanish, or, many of the same things different words are used to describe it, and then people argue about the definition and say my definition is correct, your definition is wrong. Yet you're both standing on the same surfboard saying that the ocean exists. I mean, I think we break it down to say because there's a fear of being wrong. Concept of being right is not as important. Spirituality for me, spiritual energy, spiritual understanding is more a collaborative thing, a collaborative experience where everything is included. And if you want to have your spiritual religious point of view, or if you want to have your spiritual Buddhist experience, great, go do it. Yet is your actions and causing a positive effect or an
Right.
uplifting, supporting, loving effect,
Right.
then do it. If
Right.
it's not, then relook at the purpose behind your
I don't
intent.
know,
Your
Jamie, you mentioned action. I don't know who the person was. Maybe it was Ram Dass or Baba Ji Guru Hala Halamala, but they said if you want to experience God, go feed a hungry person.
yeah.
Which is the best I can get to it. Let's keep going here. I
Okay.
promise I won't disrupt your.
That's
Okay,
good.
you died at 18, returned with a unique insight into humanity and understanding of human behavior. For 20 years as an international stunt actor, I
Yep.
know your wife was a stunt actor as well.
Yeah. And people think we met at stunt acting, but we actually met at a quantum physics and neurogenesis seminar. We're
Oh,
like,
wow.
but you're both stunt actors. I'm like, yeah. But when I was working, when she went to Australia to do work, I was in Japan working. So
Oh,
our
wow.
paths never even crossed. We were in the same locations, but never at the same time, multiple times until that event.
Have
So
you?
yeah,
No, I'm not going to get. Nope, I'm not going there. Cancel that question.
the
Okay,
answer
improv
was yes, and
trainer.
it was great.
Improv trainer. I've done
Yep,
improv. It's wonderful. And
yep,
show creator for Universal Studios,
yep,
Japan, and Warner Brothers Movie World, Australia. Wow. Jamie
yep.
lived and worked around the world, experiencing various cultures and exploring new ways of thinking. Jamie has multiple certifications in hypnosis. Hypnosis. I don't know what that is. You have to teach me.
I've learned
Reiki,
a lot from listening some of your talks as well. So that's good.
Reiki, pranic healing, emotion code,
Mhm.
energy healing, combined with knowledge in human behavior and quantum physics. This is Jamie to become a master integrator of personal development and the creative imaginative process, helping people release their subconscious money blocks and inherited limiting beliefs from their DNA. I want to step in here and in transparency say I had a session with you last week.
Oh,
And
cool.
so things feel like they're changing. It's too early to see, and we'll wait and see. But one thing I want to talk to you about here is I have a strong suspicion, I can't prove it, that we do inherit trauma. From everything
Mm.
I've read and my personal experiences, that we inherit trauma from past generations, many generations back, that a lot of our pain and our patterns are not just from our childhood, but also from our past and trauma that's passed down. Can you talk a little bit about that, how you think that works?
Yeah, absolutely. And from I've got the great benefit of being able to have had this experience with thousands of people and see the patterns. So for me, I'm like, there's a pattern here that I'm observing, and the results for some people are phenomenal. So let's just think about this. If we have a very strong emotion, uh, our chemistry in our body changes. Like right now, if I feel, say, for example, heartache, and I have heartache, something's happened, I'm having heartache. If I don't express that and I keep to ruminating around it over and over again, I'm recreating to think about it, I bring it about. I
Correct.
recreate the moment in the now based on something that may have happened a week ago, 10 years ago, whatever. So I'm creating a chemistry in my body, and without understanding exactly how everything goes on in the brain, the epigenetics elements of neurogenesis and everything that you know the brain then codes that into the DNA based on you're living in a soup of emotion for an extended period of time, and then we create this as part of our survival mechanism of the human experience or the human body. Like in the past, something that slithered on the ground bit our forefathers. They died, so we're like, oh, if I see something slithering, I'm going to be super careful of it. That fear encoded in our survival DNA. Be wary of this experience. It could bring around a negative outcome, and it could cause death. I mean, that fear of death that we were talking about earlier. Coded into our survival mechanism, our reptilian brain, our brain stem and midbrain, to react autonomously to certain situations. So let's jump back to the heartache. You're having heartache right now. To protect yourself, you kind of create an emotional belief that I'm unlovable, I can't trust people, or something around that is like, I don't want to experience this again. I hate this feeling. So I'm going to create a way of being and create habits that stop me from getting in a situation where I'll experience heartache. And so then that can lay in our body. And then many generations later, that belief now coded into the DNA is expressing itself because the circumstances in the current moment are frequency specific or triggering that emotional response. And you're like, I don't know why I'm so upset about this. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for the neocortex or the thinky brain.
Correct.
It's being triggered on the survival mechanisms of your inherited beliefs process. Like most people are afraid of heights because those that weren't afraid of heights fell off the cliff. Those that went, looks scary, passed on their genetics. So
I think it was Richard Bandler, who I've had on my show, who said people are, and how he knew this, I don't know, or even claims to know it, that we're born with only two pre-programmed fears as babies, which is fear of loud noises and fear of falling. I don't know if that's true or not.
Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure either. Yet I do know that when I do the stuff, things improve for people. And it's not that it's not like, hey, do this process and you've got a winning lotto ticket. It's kind of clearing out stuff that potentially is blocking, obstructing, or restricting your conscious desired result. So if all your, I was just going to say, like, if all your, say you need 3 buckets full to be able to, or Tetris, you need that whole line row filled before it will clear away. And if one of those little blocks isn't showing up because it's connected to DNA or inherited beliefs, then when we do the clearing process, that line clears out or that pathway is now clear. Yet if there's other blocks missing, is like you procrastinate about absolutely everything, or you have an addictive habit that is restricting your success in the moment. Other things in the current life may also be in play. We're just clearing, the stuff I do just clears up potentially what may be blocking. And I've had some great experiences that I'm surprised at myself, where working on this one person, and this lady was having she actually reached out to me because her daughter was having like self-confidence issues. And I'm like, well, let's see if there's any inherited stuff that you have that's passed on to her, and let me just work with you first. And there was this big area around trust that she had. None of her relationships were working, short-term relationships. And it went back to like her, I don't know, her great-grandmother or her great-great-grandmother. And I said, well, there's something happened to your great-great-grandmother, an experience, there's a lack of trust. She felt the trapped emotion was betrayal. So the betrayal emotional state created a belief that I can't trust people. So when you believe you can't trust people, cognitive bias is always coming in going, oh, what am I observing right now? What's untrustworthy here? The brain's
going to trust people. Do you trust people?
Mostly, yes.
Then why do you lock your door at night?
Because my wife doesn't trust people, and she gets upset if I leave it unlocked.
Uh-oh, I just got you into trouble. I just, I'm being an imp. I'm playing the devil's advocate here. I get you. I get you entirely. And I also, one of the things I experienced when I did my session with you is a lot of fucked up stuff, or had a lot of fucked up stuff from my females on my father's side of the family. In fact, wasn't it all going back many generations, females on my father's side?
If I remember correctly, yes, because usually I get deep into it in the moment, and then once it's finished, I rip the piece of paper off, throw it in the bin, and I don't even think about it again. Yet I believe it does stand out, because that was the first time I've ever had it be just one side of the lineage and going back to different women in that inherited lineage. So on your father's side, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, each of them had one little thing that kind of culminated into the stuff that was showing up for you that we looked at. Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck did anything good come down that line? Probably a lot of courage. All right, let's keep going.
Sure.
Chronic healing, emotion code, energy healing. Who has inherited limiting beliefs? I would say, correct me if that's wrong. That's everybody. Yes.
Yeah. um,
What are the most common ones?
Self-worth. Oh my God. Self-worth is one of and it shows up in so many different ways. It's because typically, like, this is one of the secret sauce things that the wife does when she's doing collections for big companies. Someone's like, I can't afford my payment. And she goes, well, tell me what's happening. And then, oh, do you want to have a session with my husband to see if there's any subconscious money blocks there? And then she'll send them to me. And it's most money blocks is connected to self-worth in some aspect, space or time experienced by someone going, oh, I'm just not worthy. And so it's hard to accept when you don't feel that you're worthy.
How
So
much? I'm going to push pause again. Not be.
okay.
I'm just thinking, particularly in Western culture, we relate, and men particularly relate so much to money being equal to our worth as human beings. I wonder how much this is a first world problem, but people who live in more tribal or collective cultures don't quite put so much emphasis on money being the measure of self-worth, but rather how they contribute to
Oh,
the tribe. I'm just wondering if you went down to a different culture and practiced there, if you'd encounter different problems. I don't know if you've ever considered that before.
I haven't really considered that, but when you're talking about it, I backpacked through Africa for about 6 months, many years in my
Holy hell, really?
yeah.
By yourself?
Yeah, and ironically, here's where perception plays a big factor. Because I was held captive for half a day, and I didn't realize our truck was just surrounded by guys with guns, and I'm like, this is
Where?
boring in Malawi.
See, now you can't slide, just roller skate past that. You got to tell us a little bit of that story.
Well, I mean, it happened, and I'm here now. So at the end of the result was it didn't work. So next,
Okay. All right.
basically, I was in like there's a little bit of you could buy a ticket and you could go as far as you wanted north with this ticket, and then you buy a separate ticket to go as far as you wanted south on this like kind of group bus service or group little truck service. And if you only wanted to go 5 miles, you could jump off and spend as long as you wanted at that spot, and then you could get back on the next one that's coming through. It was a great look, and you met people and you get to have conversations. Well, anyway, I was on one of these trucks. We were traveling through Malawi, and so of course I didn't speak the language, but the driver did, and I was in the back of the truck, and there was probably about I don't know 12 or so of us. There's about 4 or 5 guys, and you know 6 or 7 girls in there, and I was young at the time, like I'm 20, 18, 20, 20 or so. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, I'm from Australia. So I'm like, hey, mate. Yeah. G'day, mate. We're all friends. Yeah. I hadn't had as many life experiences around the world at that point in the time for my caution button or caution dial to be turned up. So anyway, I'm just hanging out in this truck going, I'm in Africa. This is cool. Oh, look, animals. And then we're going along this little trail kind of thing, and someone stopped the truck, walked out of it was kind of like these big plains, tall grass or bushes or something. And this person just walked out and stopped the truck in the middle of the road. And then other people came out from around it, and we were kind of surrounded by probably about 7 or 8 guys with rifles slung over their shoulder. So they didn't have the rifles down pointing at us.
Right.
They had them on their shoulder. And we were there, the whole day, pretty much from, because this was early in the morning, just after sunrise. And there was kind of like this like emergency toilet thing in the truck if you needed to use it. So we hadn't really eaten too much, and we had snacks. So
They probably wanted some payola. Did
yep.
you wind up paying them some cash?
What ended to happen is eventually we just slowly drove off, and nothing of. And I thought that was, here's my perception. I'm like, well, if someone stops you and starts talking in the car, they're your friend that you know or something. And I'm like, what a waste of time for the whole day to be spent. These guys just gas jabbing to each other. I found out later on that the person in the front of the cab, who was kind of the administrator, said that the driver was doing all the talking back and forth. And he had his hand on the key, ready to turn the truck back on and start pretty much at any point in time. The whole time he was talking, what they wanted to do, they were demanding that everyone get off the truck and the women go to the left and the men go to the right, or something like separating the men and women. And she said what they were planning to do would kill the men, rape and kill the women, take all our money. And that was and they were threatening to, you know, shoot if they didn't do it. None of that I was aware of. So not being aware of it meant I had no emotion about it.
Probably served you best. All right, let's get, boy, I'm interrupting a lot here, but it's just,
I'll just finish that story. What happened was the driver said, shoot one round into the air and we'll comply. And they didn't. Basically, they had guns, but they didn't have bullets. So basically they had fancy looking sticks. And when they saw the several guys in there, they didn't feel confident they would beat because I was a rugby player for the university at that point in time. So I mean, I was a big, solid, strong guy, and so are the other guys in the thing. So the thought of having a fist fight did not seem comparable for him. So that's why it only went the way it went, and then we just drove off and nothing happened. So yeah.
All right, let's dive in because wow, this has been a great discussion. We're almost right on time. So how important is self-awareness and the RAS? I'm assuming that's the reticular activating system.
Yeah. As you well know, with the brain and the thoughts and the mind, the reticular activation system, or RAS, is a lot of people, or your reticular formation. I like to think of it, there's a lot of people and a lot of YouTube videos you can go watch and explain it a lot more and how it breaks down. I like to understand a full complex and then bring it down to what do I need to know to get the result I want.
Love it.
Here's the way I look at it. The RAS is like your editor-in-chief. You've got a whole bunch of stories you want to print for everyone to see. And he goes, nope, yes, this one. Or a bouncer at a nightclub. I used to do bouncing in nightclubs, so I have that experience. The bouncer at the nightclub has a list. It's your VIP list. These are the people, or these are the belief structures or the thoughts I'm going to allow into the VIP nightclub called consciousness. So,
I love it.
Somebody rocks on up going, hey, I'm unlimited wealth. And the bouncer looks at the list and goes, sorry, this person doesn't believe in unlimited wealth. I don't have that belief, so I can't allow that opportunity to present itself to consciousness. So becoming self-aware of what are your beliefs, and are they limiting or are they empowering? This goes back to that spirituality or religious thing again. Are your religious beliefs loving, supporting, and empowering, or are they limiting?
Yes.
Are they dissecting your society or creating a society?
Yes. In Buddhism, we call this right thought. It's one of the 6, I believe, called paramitas: right thought, right action, right speech, right. 6 of them. I don't know.
I know there's several gates. He's like, first, yes, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary?
Is it compassionate? Is it true? Is it compassionate? Is it timely? Although we can get it. This is not about Buddhism. All right, Jamie, you've given us gold, diamonds, gold, and diamonds. My audience is going to want to stay in the conversation with you. How do they do that? Do you have a gift? Do you have a website? We'll put everything in the show notes as well.
You know, my wife and I do a free healing, basically the concept that we just chatted about now, on all different aspects, and do an energy healing session, I think every Wednesday night, on Facebook, Zoom.
How do people get into it?
That's a great question. As you can see, my wife is the intelligence in the structure.
Is she there?
I don't know where she is. She is out there somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, we could always bring her on, but I've had her on before. Here's what you do. Email me and I will make sure the producer puts it in the show notes.
Yeah, I think if you escape the toxic minefield or toxic minefield, I think you just Google that and you will find it for sure.
Okay.
Toxic minefield or escape the toxic
All
minefield.
right. Jamie, I hope you enjoyed the pushback. Is for my own clarification and for that of my audience, I really look forward to coming out to Vegas and visiting with you and your wife. And I know you're going to be here in Escondido in February, correct?
I believe we are. I think we have an event in. Well, actually, we have an in-person event where we go through all this stuff through the whole day on this coming Saturday here in Las Vegas, and then we're going to be out in Escondido. We're in San Francisco on January 18th for a one-day event as well, and then we've got another one coming up in Utah. And Amy was just talking about doing one in Florida with someone on the phone yesterday. I overheard. Basically, it ends up in my calendar, and that's where I know where I'm going to be next week.
All right. We'll talk about that off the air. Thanks,
Sure.
Jamie, for being on the show. Stay with me in the green room.
Pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to the Influencer's Edge and once again making us top 10%. How we did that, I don't know. I think it's due to guests like Jamie and you, the audience. Bye.
The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Thank you for tuning in to the Influencer's Edge, where you get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques so you can leapfrog over the pack in sales, influence, and persuasion. Remember to visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com to enjoy even more great episodes like this one. We look forward to seeing you again on the Influencer's Edge Show.